So, you're probably wondering, what in the world does Star Wars have to do with music education? Aside from using its theme song to help our students remember the interval of a perfect fifth, how does the Empire, the Rebel Alliance, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Luke and Leia, Han Solo, the Stormtroopers, C-3PO, and R2-D2 fit into our music classrooms? In his article titled In Search of a Reality-Based Community, Illusion and Tolerance in Music, Education, and Society, Dr. Schmidt briefly discusses the concept of an empire. He presents a quote from an aide of the current administration of the White House, which states, "We are an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality." After reading this quote and the paragraph that followed it, the first thing that came to my mind was my favorite Star Wars episode. Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Now, I'm not a Star Wars geek, I swear, but I found an analogy between this particular episode and the idea or concept of empires in the classroom. It might seem like a stretch, but hear me out. At the beginning of this episode, the Empire has driven the Rebel Alliance into hiding. Now, we can think of the Empire as teachers or their programs. And then we could think of the Rebel Alliance as our students. How often do we as teachers view ourselves or our programs as the Empire? In what ways do we drive the Rebel Alliance, aka our students, into hiding? Why do we view ourselves or our programs as an empire in the first place? What are the consequences of this? Now, I'm not saying that teachers are evil and students are the good guys, but in some cases, it may actually seem like that. First, let's talk about this idea of being an empire. Empires involve some supreme authority presiding over a group or groups of people. It is easy to see how this might fit in the classroom. For the physical and psychological safety of the students, teachers need to act as authority. They need to be the adult. However, adult does not equal dictator. As humans, we cannot deny the change that happens within us when we are given a role of power, control, or responsibility over other human lives. This is scary and exhilarating at the same time. The concept of classroom management seems to me just a means of training students to obey orders. I understand this is essential to create a safe environment for students, but at the same time, I have this gnawing feeling inside of me that there's something wrong here. Mark Twain once said, "Don't let schooling interfere with your education." It's such a shame that school is viewed as a roadblock to education rather than a vehicle for it. School can provide so many opportunities that an average person wouldn't normally have in his or her everyday life. I believe that one of the reasons students go into hiding or wish to avoid school is that teachers may treat themselves or their programs as the empire, rather than focusing on the students and their real needs. Here we can ask, why would teachers do this? Perhaps teachers are concerned with keeping up with the requirements of the district or county and keeping their job. These are not trivial issues to be concerned about, but if students aren't truly learning, what is the point? We can prepare our students to sight read for choir festivals by teaching them tricks here and there, but not in a way that they actually understand the theory behind it. That's extremely similar to teaching kids to the test. We can teach them tricks, or they can cram the information into their brains before the test, but afterwards, the knowledge, if it can be even considered knowledge, is lost. A teacher might also focus more on the program rather than the people because it's easier to focus on the program rather than the people. If I'm a teacher, I can control my program, how it runs, what its purpose is, its success. I cannot, however, control my students. Students are messy human beings. Who is truly brave enough to delve deep into their world? Back to the quote about creating realities. I wonder if instead, when empires act, they create illusions instead of realities. Dr. Schmidt also talks about assenting versus believing in his article. When an empire acts, for example, to create a multicultural choral program, does the empire act out of true belief in being a globally aware citizen, or does it act just to create the illusion to the community that it does believe in multiculturalism and that it takes the time to learn about other cultures? Even here at the school, we get lost in our own bubble of a world. It's like a snow globe. We should not only know, but understand that there are galaxies far, far away. How can we break away from our empires in the classroom and convince our students to come out of hiding? Our initial instinct might be to act more carefully and to try to control the situation more, but if we do that, we will have learned nothing from our mistakes. I say we move towards the other end of the spectrum. Teachers should let go, take risks, dig deep, and get messy. We shouldn't disregard our prior knowledge or research in the educational field, but we should use those as a springboard for new ideas. With this comes the possibility of failing. Did Luke Skywalker back away from fighting just because he was afraid of failing? No, and neither should we. It may seem that if we fail, it will come at the cost of the students that we teach at that particular time. But as I think about it, it would come at the cost of all our students now and in the future, for not taking the risk. Taking risks can cause friction, and friction causes growth. We need friction in this country's education system. How might we do this? Well, we could ask our students challenging questions about the music industry, like pirating music or careers in music. We could have a class outside. We could write a song together. I could have a classic rock or R&B unit for my students. We could talk about the voice and how it works. We could do projects using GarageBand. We could learn to beatbox or talk about riffing. We could have a Battle of the Bands event. We could start a songwriting club, or we could even make music videos. These are just several ideas, but I think the most important step away from acting as an empire in the music classroom is to discover what is important to the students. The ideas aforementioned might not be ones that teachers who go through our type of training at Westminster are most comfortable with, but I think that's even better because it causes us to leave our comfort zone. Just by asking our students what they like and what they want to learn, teachers can begin to perceive reality for what it really is. In their classroom, at least. So it's about time that we rewrite the mistakes of our educational past and give up our empire. It's time for the Rebel Alliance to step forth, and it's time for us to listen to what they're telling us. This is Episode 5, The Empire Gives Up.